Hello and welcome to another episode of Too Much Time on Our Hands. We've managed to. It's just the three of us this evening. We've managed to emerge from the warp safely, but sadly Tom still seems to be stuck in his own eye of terror. Um, with his own eye of terror, I'm not totally sure. Anyway, hi Handies. Thank you all for joining us, and if you're listening, thanks very much for listening to us as well. Um, Tonight I'm joined with Russ. How are you
Sup?
doing? You might be that way. I don't really know. All good. We've just been talking tanks, painting tanks, 40k. It's been great. And Dan, how you doing?
Yeah, good. All good. I am yeah, great. I don't know.
I mean, there's no
Who was
football.
asking?
What are you
Yeah, I'm
gonna do
good.
on a Sunday? Paint models.
Yeah,
So
what you mean with no NFL?
yeah,
Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna try to.
yeah.
But I've got some catching up to do. So I still haven't finished my 2,000 points of World Eaters yet. I need to
Yeah.
finish that.
This is also
Brown Eye of Terror, nice one, Dan.
this is the brief period of the year where you actually get to sleep as well, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm not. I'm shattered. But yes, yeah, maybe do a bit of painting.
Yeah,
Or Alan Partridge. A wank, I think. But yeah, sure. Just
Um, funny enough, because we've all been doing 40k stuff, this might be another 40k
yeah.
associated.
Next week it won't be. Let's promise that now, okay?
Mhm.
There's my tank, by the way. If people are
Very nice.
interested. Little commissar poking out the top of it now.
I love that conversion.
The meme tank, guys.
Meme tank.
Meme tank.
Dan,
Yeah.
what are we doing? Tell us.
What 40k lore that we like and what 40k lore that we don't like.
Easy as
And
that, lads.
yeah, and I have a prediction that the stuff that we don't like might actually outweigh the stuff we like, and we might end up hating this hobby and selling all our stuff. But yeah,
No.
apparently, Russ and Duncan are a bit quiet, and I'm perfectly loud.
I don't know what's going. There's something weird going on with the audio.
Yeah,
Okay.
there must be.
So maybe should I turn down a bit, and then you turn everything up?
Yeah, let me have a look at my
Right.
things.
How's that?
It's a bit louder.
Yeah,
It's a
you
bit
sound
louder.
good.
Yeah,
I'm
so,
probably pretty loud. Right.
yeah,
How's
quite
that?
loud. It's quite
How's
loud.
that interwebs?
Yeah, it might be because I turned everything up quite a bit
Actually,
on
I'm
mine.
going to call
So
it the web wave from now on.
there you go. Russ, are you louder now as well?
Yeah, my micro. Everything's weirdly turned down.
Why is that? That's crazy.
Because Zoom does weird shit.
I mean, if you're remotely
does.
professional about these sort of things, you'd look at it first.
Yeah,
But
fuck
no,
that.
You have to.
We are
There you go, not
luckily
quite
not
up there.
professional.
I don't know that's something anyone's ever accused us of being.
We've got really vital stuff to say, and it's important that people hear us.
Yeah, exactly. So you need to turn the fuck up,
Yeah.
Russ.
To
People
to
need
be
hear your
honest,
voice.
When does the world get to hear from three middle-aged white guys?
exactly.
never.
Really never happens.
Never.
So
I mean,
you
it's
know,
not.
You're welcome.
When does the Warhammer world listen to old 40 old Warhammer Games Workshop playing nerds, white old guys who've been there from third edition, second edition,
Second.
second
Definitely
edition.
second, yeah. Russ, you're quiet.
Third edition for me because I'm not a loser like you guys.
Bullshit. But second, but it's Russ, you're apparently really quiet now. You might just need to
Ugh.
whack your microphone up.
I mean, I'm not. I don't know what's going on.
You are. I mean, here you're quiet. You are a bit quiet, to be fair. Maybe.
Crank this
I don't know.
bitch.
Huh?
I mean, this is now up like inadvisably high. It's
Oof.
I can actually hear you.
it should be okay.
You still a little quiet to me, but I'm sure
Just gonna
we'll
move it physically
we'll find out,
closer.
won't we? There you go. Maybe that's it. Maybe you just need to move the mic closer. You know, like in that episode of Jugs when Louise Jugs is a painting podcast. I promise. Louise asks Peachy for advice on how to paint faster, and he just says, "Move your hand faster." Maybe you just need to sit closer to the microphone.
This is probably true.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
All right. Where do we want to kick off on lore that we like, lore that we don't like?
So this is like, so in advance of the TV shows and stuff coming out and things like that, this is probably a good chance for us to just like get it out of our system, so that we're not those whiny pricks going, "Oh no, I can't believe they're doing this" when the TV series gets announced. Because let's face it, it's going to be something really basic.
I gonna put it out there. I really don't mind if they do retconning, because I like the fact that the whole thing is, come on, it's unreliable narrators all the way through.
Yeah, at least nobody can actually say that that's wrong or right, really, because you can always find something to contradict pretty much anything.
Actually, Russ. No, you're right.
So yeah, this is just, so if it does end up being any of these things that we've whinged about, well, there we go. We've whinged about it now, and we've got it out of the way.
Yeah. Maybe in the TV series, the Emperor will be a good dad.
That would be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turns out he's all right.
Happen because they're all really well adjusted.
Maybe Magnus does nothing right.
Yeah. No, that's my favorite response to that is Magnus did do nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong.
That's why I'm saying
He was
he
meant
might
to
do nothing right.
He was meant to do nothing, and he did it wrong. But yeah. Okay. Do we want to start with a good one or a bad one?
Yeah, let's start with a bad one.
Perpetuals. Fuck off. I hate them. Hate them. Hate them. Hate them. I don't really get it. It kind of cheapens what the Emperor is. And Malkador as well, for that matter. John Grammaticus never has a good voice in any of the audiobooks. Alonius Person is a little too on the nose for me anyway. Fuck off Perpetuals. I don't like them.
So I don't mind John Grammaticus because he's not a real Perpetual.
Yeah, okay, fair.
He was, although, but then like when you start getting into the whole Cabal thing,
yeah,
I don't like that very much either.
I liked it in the very specific circumstance at the end of Legion, the book. That one specific circumstance, I really liked it.
Yeah, I just don't like the idea that you can look at something like the Horus Heresy and then like there's like a smoky room somewhere with some aliens in suits going, yes, exactly as we planned about that.
It is a bit mustache twiddling, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just like another layer on top. You know?
Yeah.
And like let it be because the Emperor was such a bad dad. Don't make there be something else on top of that.
Russ, here's a question. You've definitely got the right microphone active. Apparently you're still really quiet.
I mean, who knows? It's almost like I do this sort of stuff at work all the time.
I was wondering.
Yeah, it's definitely that microphone.
Who's the... Is it Erda? The other Perpetual that the Emperor was meant to have a romance with?
She's the one that like helped make the Space Marines,
no, not
she?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember. I'm not even going to look it up, so sorry, Tinterweb. You can just rage at me. But...
No, because Perpetuals can fuck off. So it doesn't.
This
we
is all
shouldn't
stuff that I'm not super familiar with because
I
know there's been I've not read most of the books where it's John Grammaticus and his ragtag bunch of mates.
The only Perpetuals that are the good Perpetuals are the Necrons.
A dead Perpetual. What? Just, yeah, okay. I kind of get the Necrons and anything like this, like Angron isn't really a Perpetual, but he keeps coming back. That sort of thing. More on him later, by the way. But if Alonius Person's in fucking what's the book he's in? Is it the Mark of Calth?
He's in a few of those ones, isn't he?
Yeah, he's in that as like, I just want to be left alone, and it's like, but war's found me kind of thing. It's like, okay, cool. And for me, spoilers for something I haven't read yet, it kind of cheapens the whole lone guardsman standing up to Horus thing as well. Which is that it's Alonius Person, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say on that, like, read The End and the Death.
Yeah.
Because I thought the whole thing was done really, really well. Bear in mind, you've just read 157 books in which it's this Space Marine hits this Space Marine and this Primarch hits this Primarch. And then basically a good half of that second book is the fight between Horus and the Emperor. And it's done in a really, really interesting way.
You sound a bit louder now, by the way, Ross.
I've fiddled with some knobs.
That'll do it.
Clicked a few things on the keyboard as well. Yeah, I really liked how they did the whole final like showdown type stuff, like the way that he describes what the vengeful spirit becomes and just how it all works is not sort of, it's not how I pictured it, even though it also exactly is. It's good.
For the longest time, when we were collecting, we had the story, and we had the story was basically there's a civil war between the Primarchs, and it basically the civil war ends with the Emperor getting mortally wounded, Sanguinius dying in front of the Emperor, and Horus being taken down. And we based all of this off one picture, basically. We had that one picture of the Emperor standing up there on the step in his Terminator armor, like taking on Horus with Sanguinius dead on the ground. And so, like, the fact that they managed to forge this many books of basically that one, like, one picture is pretty impressive. But Perpetuals feels like a cheat code for me, and that's the problem. That's what I don't.
They're
really
a bit
like
too close to like when time travel starts popping up in stuff.
Yeah.
Or like multiverses and things like that, and you're a little bit just like, oh, come on, because it just means you can do whatever you want now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit like that. And by all means, if you make, there are certain circumstances where it works. Vulcan can be a perpetual as far as I'm concerned, but I'd like to not know about it. Although then that takes away the whole, like, he's just constantly being tortured by Kurz as well at one point. So, but which I quite like, and he's just dying essentially. Malcador can definitely be a perpetual as well, because then it doesn't cheapen how Malcador ends up dying as well.
No.
And then the Emperor, obviously. But then I don't really like anyone else because
I don't know many other perpetuals. I mean, John Grammaticus isn't bad because he was technically turned into a perpetual.
They pop up every now and then, and there's now all this stuff about like the Emperor had actual real children.
Yeah.
Like as in biological, not made in a fucking Play-Doh factory or wherever.
Somehow Palpatine survived, you mean?
So like he's got actual like biological children out there who are all perpetuals and insanely powerful psychers.
Yeah.
And probably now turn to chaos.
I don't really know if do we need that?
No.
Like, I don't want to imagine the Emperor Gushin inside someone. Like, it's that simple for me. Like,
I've actually either thought the Emperor was like asexual.
Like, Space Marines are, and I kind of thought they were made in his image, and I thought that was like a whole thing.
Yeah. Or he was actually just closetly homosexual. And that would have been cool.
You've been alive for that long, you're going to stick it in everything you can.
Yeah, like,
I mean, he's basically the baby-eating Bishop of Bath and Wells.
Yeah. Did you tell him you knew the baby-eating Malcador? Did you tell him you knew the baby-eating Bishop of Bath and Wells? Yes, what did he say? He said, I am the baby-eating Bishop of Bath and Wells. You don't happen to have seen my dick son Magnus anywhere, do you? So I think, yeah, I just think it's overused. And there seems to be a perpetual in every book. And then when I hear someone doing an American voice like this, I'm like, oh God, it's John Grammaticus again. Ah, fuck off. Or Elonius Person. I'm just like, it means
he often has like Narmvet vibes to him, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, because they've seen some shit. I get that. I like that. That's a good one. Yeah, I think it would have been more interesting that the Emperor once had children, but they died of old age. Yes, that would have been good. Rather than perpetuals. Fuck that. Yeah. And then that's why he creates his perfect sons and sends them out, because they won't die for a long, long time. And that would have worked really well. I like that idea.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't actually give a shit. He doesn't see them as children.
No, they are. He needs an army. He needs people to lead his army. And the only people he can. Yeah.
What's the book I just read? Oh, Master of Mankind. I finally got.
That's next. Reading. I'm just doing Scars at the moment, which I'm fucking loving.
When he's talking to custodians about the Primarchs, he talks about them as tools and weapons.
Yeah.
To the point where the custodians are like, "Why did you let them call you father?" And he's just like, seemed to work for them, didn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't give a
did
fuck.
It doesn't, no. Didn't work for Angron, that's for sure. Once again, more on him later. But it's it's a weird one, that I think it's I think it works that he's just a bad dad.
Yeah.
Is essentially the story of how the universe gets completely fucked over. But yeah, people desperate for a father figure. That the Lorgar story is that basically. Is that he's desperate for his daddy to love him, but he's not the most powerful. He's not the smartest. He's just the most devout of his sons. He's just the one that gives him all his love and wants to give him all his love.
But also,
And
even if he had been the strongest, fastest, bestest,
Yeah.
still wouldn't have cared about him at all.
No. No. And then Lorgar kind of like is the story of the quiet kid in school as well, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
So it's yeah. Although still fuck Lorgar, but yeah.
Well, fuck Erebus.
And Lorgar, both of them. I don't like either of them. Mostly Erebus though. I agree. Erebus is a weasel. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, Lorgar's crying, and Erebus goes, "Come over here. I've got this." He's basically the chaos pusher, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's also in
try
a fight
this.
to the death with Khan, and he bitches out because he didn't see it coming. So like Khan just takes him down because Lorgar, knowing that this is what will happen, tells him, "You know who killed Argol Tal?" He goes. Then the next scene is them like in the fighting pit, and Khan just about to kill him. So yeah, we've gone off on a tangent. That might be something that comes up. I don't know. I need to think about it. So yeah. So do we want to do a good one then? Something we like.
Okay. Well, so something that I really love, and if they do pop up in a show, I hope they don't dial back because they're worried it'll look goofy. Is the cheerful stupidity of the orcs.
Yeah.
I don't like they really seem they've gone back into seeing them as just football hooligans having a great time because like it was around 4th edition and they tried to make them a bit more like grim and serious and they're like you know the feral beast, whereas they've kind of gone back to just being a great bunch of lads on what the universe's biggest stag do that has just got wildly out of hand.
They were a
And I
great
think
bunch
there's
of
like
lads.
one orc at the back who's like deliberately been not drinking as much. He's like, lads, seriously, the coach, come on. So they're just not listening to him.
I've got a bit of a controversial thing.
Yeah.
I always loved the orcs. I've got the special edition of Big Dakka. I love it. It's a great book. And though I love the lore that is essentially the orcs are the hardest thing in the universe, there is nothing that can beat them apart from themselves. The thing I really dislike is how doesn't necessarily matter about the author. That essentially I actually also dislike the fact that the orcs are essentially the hardest thing in the universe, and the fact I just dislike the lore that everyone always underestimates them. Even the Necrons almost do. They don't quite. They know they're a complete pain in the ass, and they've got a way of dealing with it. But even in the Infinite and Divine, they nearly underestimate. The Votan.
Because they're stupid though.
But they're not. I do quite like the thing I do like is the fact that as soon as the orcs get bigger, they get smarter.
Yeah.
I do love that they really struggle with the idea of what's this coming? I don't like these thoughts. This thinking is really hurting me.
If they were slightly smarter, they'd have taken over the world, taken over the universe.
Well, they as they get bigger, they do get smarter.
But they don't get bigger because they kill each other.
Oh yeah.
That's the problem. Like that's why Gaskell Thrak is such a threat. Is because he's like the one that survived because he's got Makari next to him, who's the luckiest grot in the galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, I love Uthak, and then it took me to this age to realize that the name Uthak is taken straight from Lord of the Rings, like in either Return of the King or something. No, it is. They talk about Uthak getting nailed by Shelob. He gets caught by Shelob. I'm like, oh my god, that's where the bloody name comes from.
They're not subtle with their.
No, they're not. But I'm an idiot.
No.
Anyway, I don't quite like that how in all the lore around them in the stories everyone seems to underestimate them. I don't like that because it's like the only okay. Apart from my beloved Votan, they don't. They know that they're like, right, we've got to get in, we've got to get out. These guys are, this place is overrun. We've got to be quick.
That's because the Votan aren't burdened by hubris. So, like, in terms of the Imperium, Space Marines believe they can beat anyone. They believe they are the biggest, toughest, strongest things in the galaxy. They believe they can take them down.
They look,
And
they're just like, they're a bunch of animals, aren't they? They're not.
Yeah,
not
they're
meant
not.
to be
They're
taken
not
seriously.
sophisticated painters like us who murder Eldar children. Like it's, and then Imperial Guard. There's a whole book on telling them that they'll easily take down the orcs. They're savages, but they're not that tough. You'll be fine. And that's the only way they can get people to go and fight them. So I don't think it's like an element of underestimating them. I think they understand it's a big problem.
Oh, I mean, the funniest one is Brutal Cunning, where the thing is, it gets a bit tiring. Like, I do get it that the Mechanica Adeptus Mechanicus, they have a plan, and they've thought everything out. They looked at all the probabilities, and the fact that the orcs just don't care, and no one ever takes into account that the orcs do not care about dying. Like, they just don't. There's like, think it's the funniest thing to watch others die, and they also think it's quite funny if they lose a leg.
Yeah.
They're like, it's like, as long as you die in a funny way, it's great.
If they had any level of self-preservation, though, they'd have taken over the galaxy by now.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if there was
like,
any kind of...
Everything in 40k needs, it's great, because everything is the biggest threat to the galaxy, apart from, this one thing that's holding them back.
Yeah. I think Tyranids might actually be the biggest threat to the galaxy, though.
Yeah,
but
but
they can't travel very fast. They don't have any faster than light movement.
Yeah,
and you can beat them. Like, if
everyone teamed up, they could probably take on the Tyranids.
Well, no, the way to take on the Tyranids is actually you invade a bioship, and you can do that. And if you take out a chamber in a bioship, it takes time for the bioship to respond because it is a living organism, and basically the Tyranids become the immune system. But you can do it, and it's the start of High Cal Oaths, the High Cal's Oaths. But they take out a bioship because they mine it. It's quite funny.
They mine it, as in with
they literally, yeah, they take big galactic cutters and break it down for parts.
Nice.
But mainly, it's quite funny. But it's always a bit of a close call. But they do it, and that's how you defeat Tyranids. You don't wait for them to land. You do it before they do.
So the genius of orcs is that they still live in this grimdark universe where it's like, shit, we might have a problem with the orcs. They might be the ones that actually finally kill us, and they very nearly do it during the Horus Heresy as well.
Yeah.
During the Great Crusades, on is it Ulanor? No, yeah, which is Armageddon. So like, they're the same planet, and they very nearly like take out most of the Space Marines that are sent there. And they have to send like 6 legions, don't they, to try and take them on?
Yeah, but that's why there's the big celebration.
Yeah, because that was a lot of work to do that. So, like they're treated very, like, they're dark, but they are also the dark sense of humor. So like, they are hilarious. All their vehicles look amazing. They all look fantastic. Some of them are ridiculous. You've got grots like crawling all over orc bodies in ridiculous ways. You've got giant squigs. You've got like vehicles that just look like something out of Mad Max, but somehow more preposterous. So it's like, yeah.
I'm not saying I dislike the orcs.
Yeah.
I love them to bits. They are the funniest thing.
Yeah.
I dislike the it just gets tiring. It's like the only 2 factions so far that haven't really underestimated them are the Votan, because they've got experience and they're like, we're just too pragmatic for this, and the Necrons, because they're just like, ugh, they are horrible, but they just keep on coming, and it's just because they've got experience with them, and probably the Tyranids, because the Tyranids don't know anything else.
I mean, I kind of disagree, because I think that, especially the Imperium.
Hey, I'm allowed to fucking dislike something, all right?
I'm just saying that I don't think that they think they take it. I think the hubris of the Imperium is the problem. Not necessarily that it's the orcs are stupid or not a threat. I think that they approach nearly every race like that. Like they keep waking up Tomb Worlds because they keep pressing buttons that they shouldn't be pressing, and that says like a willful disregard to like personal safety. In
Okay,
that's as stupid as anything an orc does.
let me rephrase this. It's the fact that only 2 factions so far seem to have learned that actually maybe we should be a bit more careful. Like, I get the Drukhari because they're arrogant as fuck, and they all and like in. But okay, so maybe it's just reading it. It just gets a bit tiring. It's like, ah, come on, like, yes, there's hubris, but the Drukhari are not stupid. They should learn. The Mechanicus are just probably set in the way. I mean, it does come across as they're just set in the ways. It's more, it gets a bit tiring. It would be nice that it suddenly go, this is a bit difficult. Like in the Horus Heresy, they defeat them because they go, actually, this is going to be tough. They do end up sending 6 legions, but they do sort of go, all right, we have to take this more seriously than we have actually been doing. And that no one else does.
I think they do because they definitely take Armageddon's an example of them taking it seriously because they're like, shit. But then also I personally really like the stories of like the Inquisitor that tried to get rid of 2 threats at the same time by pitching the Tyranids against the orcs. And the Tyranids and orcs both got bigger because more orcs just kept coming and going, this looks like a good scrap, let's go. And the Tyranids just kept eating them. And so they'd get bigger and it became this massive problem.
Yeah, well, that is quite funny. I mean,
it's great, yeah.
It's a minor gripe.
Yeah.
It's more, it gets a bit tiresome. I mean, I would fully expect it if it's, if they have orcs in the TV series, it'd be great because they're funny. And they're all, if they do not have that bad Cockney accent, I'm gonna go out and
I'm all right with that, by the way. I don't like it.
Yeah, definitely. Like even Lord of the Rings had Cockney orcs.
Yeah.
But I want to give them a good crumping.
I don't know. It makes my skin crawl a little bit, but like I kind of think they probably have to because otherwise people will be up in arms about it.
I don't mind that.
Yeah, I think they've got to be ridiculous.
Definitely,
they've got to be like an actual threat. So I don't know whether you watched. There was one of the Hammer and the Bolter episodes where they travel to a planet to pick up. The story is that they think they're going to the planet to help with the orcs, but they're actually going to pick up the weapons because they know they're doomed. And the orcs in that look genuinely pretty scary. I think they did a really good... It's worth watching it. I think they did a really good job with that. And it was the whole, like, we're going to take down a load of orcs because we're the Imperial Guard. And then they see them and went, oh, no, that's really terrifying. That's not what we were told they look like. It's really good. Is it the primer? The Guardsman's primer has like this whole thing about like just a simple knife to the throat should do the job and stuff like that. It's like that they're easy to take down, and it's in such the propaganda involved in getting people to gladly give their lives to the Emperor is kind of hilarious. But I do agree that they are kind of underrated and maybe they shouldn't be. But then maybe they should unionize first, and then kind of like provide something of a more consistent threat. But
I mean, I do love the concept of the red gobbo.
Yeah,
that is hilarious. I mean, there's no doubt. I love the orcs. I think they're funny.
They do a million things that are so good.
Yeah,
I agree.
Everything, like the fact that they just find warp travel hilarious and just like a massive trip, and then just and everyone just like, how?
When they just don't give a toss, like so many things that other people are worried about, like your ship's getting sucked into the warp or whatever, they're just like, nah, fuck it, be a laugh on it.
And if they truly wanted to, they'd just believe hard enough that it wouldn't get sucked into the warp, and it wouldn't get sucked into the warp. So, like, it's the idea of them just representing like childhood imagination, essentially, is kind of wonderful. Like this group. My favorite one of this is that they are the ones keeping the Emperor alive because they believe he's alive.
Yeah,
I love that.
I love it as an idea. It's probably a bit of an over.
It's not what's happening, but it is. I love that as an idea that the only reason the Emperor still lives is because the orcs don't know that he's actually dead.
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite bits in the Infinite Divine is where they do quote one of the uh big bosses, orc big bosses, going, really like the shiny lads because they just keep on coming back. They're great for a good crumping.
Yeah.
It's just like we love Necrons. We just
Like how
can
they love Yarrick, Commodore Yarrick.
yeah. Just keep on releasing him.
They let him go because he's a good sport and too much fun.
Yeah. He puts up a decent fight, yeah, exactly.
Because they don't even really understand the difference between like the Imperium and Chaos. There's just like
No.
humans and spiky humans.
Yeah.
Well, they're Umis, and then there's the Spikies are the Drukhari, and then the Eldari are the Pointies, and then the Shorties are the Votan. Oh, I can't remember what. Although they call Space Marines Beakies, which I love.
Yeah.
It's just great. It is really, really good.
So yeah, if the orcs are popping up in whatever it is that's coming out, then yeah, I don't want to see them as like genuine, like terrifying howling beasts. I want to see them with a bit of personality and being stupid.
Yeah, same. Give me an animated series on the orcs as well. Just like a whole animated series on orcs.
In fact, there's a really good game called Shooters, Blood and Teeth.
Yeah.
Have you tried that? That's really good.
Yeah, it's good fun. Yeah, it's good fun. What you got for us, Duncan?
Oh, what?
Good or bad, doesn't matter. Things you like or things you don't like.
Oh, I'm now stumped.
Okay.
No, I love my favorite lore. One of my favorite lores is when the Emperor finds Russ, Leman Russ, and Leman Russ knows exactly who it is,
Yeah.
but just dicks around. I just love it.
I hate that I like Leman Russ.
Yeah, the problem is it's that bit. It's only that bit going, right, we'll have an eating competition and then we'll have a drinking competition.
He drinks
And
him
then the
under the
Emperor
table,
just goes, fuck this, and we're going to have a fight, and then gets beaten. And then Russ is like, yeah, fair enough. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm dicking around.
Yeah, he's a professional dick to people, isn't he?
Yeah. So like it's one of my favorite ones is the fight he has with Leonard Johnston.
Yeah, he just goes, why are we doing this? And laughs and walks away, and Lionel then comes up and stabs him.
He turns around and stabs him because
Because
too much
he's
of a
like,
prick.
no, this lasted days. We're having a fucking fight. And so it's the idea that Lionel Johnson is a gentlemanly fighter, but is a savage. And Leman Russ is a savage, but is kind of a gentleman. Like, I love this idea that Leman Russ is actually kind of a good dude, but he just fights like an absolute savage. And it kind of plays out with the Space Wolves as well. They do have like a relatively, they are somewhat moral, at least.
Yeah, I mean, they stand up for the Steel Legion.
Absolutely, yeah.
They're just like, nah, like these guys were great. You are not doing anything to this lot. And the Inquisition become massive dicks. So do the Grey Knights, and then just killed the Grey Knight. They like
become massive dicks. The Inquisition just are
Inquisition
massive
are
dicks.
kind of, yeah.
well, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that is it's a snippet. I suppose another one is just the Necron courts of how the Necrons decide things, and the fact that they just take so bloody long. And it is like I love the lore of the Necron formalities.
Yeah.
Just that they've created to entertain themselves almost, and they just do this, and it's just like these walking robotic skeletons with all this formality still about it. It's just I just love that.
One of mine was just Necrons in general.
I
Like,
mean, it's the best lore.
yeah, just quickly, Dan says Leman Russ is basically a rugby player and Lionel Johnson's basically a football player. Yeah, that's kind of it, isn't it? Lionel Johnson's a curmudgeon as well, whereas Leman Russ is
He knows how
like
to have a good time.
he
Lionel
did,
definitely doesn't.
and then he fucked up after Prospero. He kind of like that haunted him a bit, I think.
Well, they went off, didn't he? That's why he left.
Yeah.
Went on the gap year.
Yeah, Gapial. Yeah, but they are fun brothers to watch, especially so if the good chance we'll get Lehman Russ by the end of next year. So we'll probably get to see a reunion between Lehman Russ and Lionel Johnson. And Gilliman kind of in the middle, just trying to keep them like together.
Well, the thing is, in Son of the Forest, Lion goes, I would love to see one of my brothers, even that brute Russ.
Yeah. Surprise.
And,
yeah.
And he's excited that one of his brothers lives, and he's like only mildly disappointed it's Rabute because he doesn't like Rabute either. He's like, oh, Rabute's boring, and then he's like, it's Rabute. He's like, he's still a brother.
Gilliman's got like I love how some of the brothers get on with each other simply on how much they like fighting, like, and some of them just don't. Like Gilliman's kind of crossover to Dawn because they're both like, yeah, no, I do things by the book, and I'm just like, but I like fighting more, so I'll get on with these guys. And Gilliman's like, well, I'll do your taxes for you, but I'm also pretty good in a fight as well. And he's a strategist as well, so Gilliman's kind of an all-rounder, weirdly, but yeah. Yeah, Necrons in general. So like,
there is nothing about Necrons I don't like. Everything so far has been great.
So well fleshed out. No pun intended there. Flayed One's another part of Necrons that I fucking love as well. What a great idea that is. And just
the destroyer virus as well. We must destroy all.
It's great. Like, I kind of love all of it. I think Necrons, from what they were conceived as originally, which was, it's the future, we need Terminators, to like Egyptian lore-based robots that used to be human and now want nothing more but to be human. What is it? I must scream, but I have no mouth. Oh my God, what a great line. I don't even know whether that's from 40k, but it's
just a bunch of immortal, sad robots.
Yeah.
So
who
cool.
keep getting woken up by dicks that can't help but play around with things as well.
What are you talking about, Trazyn?
Trazyn's great. So like that's the other thing. Like, how can like an army of robots have probably the most personality in their characters?
The Infinite and Divine is essentially Indiana Jones.
Yeah. With grumpy old men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love it.
They're fighting at the start, and it's sort of like, if the sort of the commentary is basically like, yeah, it might have looked quite impressive because they're two like 9 foot tall robots, but this is basically two crusty old academics whacking each other with their notebooks.
So
when they had flesh, this would have been quite different, but now that they're immortal and super strong with deadly weapons.
Love it.
Yeah, neither of them are actually any good at fighting.
Yeah.
No. The whole idea of they've also got an executioner, and it's like, what's the point of having the executioner? Because Trazyn they sort of can go ahead and the whole court idea, and the fact that I do like the idea that the Silent King then gave them back their protocols. And stuff, and
Silent King's another one I love as well. What a great idea! It's just like riddled with guilt that he is responsible for this.
Yeah,
and trying to find a way out, and yet there is him and Imhotep.
Yeah,
who are having this civil war basically about like how they should proceed, and it works really, really well.
Who's the science one that's in the Pariah Nexus animation?
Oh fuck, I know you mean, yeah. Brian, that animation's great as well, by the way.
Yeah, and
properly makes them scary.
Because he's the one that's like, no one really he just really didn't notice that he didn't have a body anymore. Like there was no soul essentially to take, and there was very little difference. So
I love it. But yeah, Necrons in general, just I think they rarely put a foot wrong with Necrons. Like there is so much lore for them as well, and they are not young, but they are also, in terms of what they've done with them, not that old either.
Oh, when did they come out? It was like
Third
99.
edition. Yeah, third edition was
Yeah.
like when we first saw them.
I remember the
yeah.
Necrons coming out and like
Yeah.
being new, but they weren't what they are now at all.
So you had the just the standard Necron models. You had the little barges that carried everyone, and you had the scarabs, and I think that was it. And I think you had a commander as well. And there wasn't much, and they all had the rule "I'll be back," "will be back," sorry, because they were all based on Terminators, and they were a bit boring at that point. But since then, they've really kind of come into their own. Really great race,
Yeah.
fun to read about. So yeah, Russ,
So
bad or
What-
good?
what I would quite like to see, and what I always quite like, is when you get a glimpse of just some actual just normal lives.
They're the best books.
And even when if it's just sort of descriptive background, so you get loads of it in like the Gaunt and the Eisenhorn books. I think Dan Abnett's quite into that sort of as a concept, because like it's not like it says in the front page of the Codex for everybody all the time. Like as a whole, most people in the Imperium will never see any war or fighting or anything, because for the most part it's just things ticking along as normal.
Yeah.
But there's such a variety of, so you know, like in Eisenhorn he goes to places where it's like it'll be like a sort of regency village with like a local lord and stuff, and people going to balls and things. It could basically be just like any element of human history at all will be probably happening somewhere in the Imperium.
Yeah.
Or it's just like quiet little mining towns and things that just have their own like local drama going on.
Yeah, most of them don't ever experience. I like the fact that essentially most people don't ever see, obviously, an Astartes, and they never really experience chaos.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously, you know, it's not great for a lot of people all the time, but it's also not just like relentless grinding misery 24/7 for everybody.
Yeah.
It's for some people, but
Yeah, it is, yeah. Like if you go to war, that's not good. Like you're probably
oh yeah, like if you join the Guard, you're pretty fucked.
yeah. Or if you are one of the many slaves on one of these ships that run the guns or engineering or are considered expendable, that's not good either.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not pleasurable, but yeah, I kind of agree that it's kind of like one thing I kind of want from it is, as you say, like you could tell different stories. They have a different feel to them. And I'm not saying you start and go, we are doing 12 stories and they're 12 different things. But like, it would be nice to maybe do like maybe a more focused like Love, Death and Robots kind of thing where it's all set in the 40k universe, but it is different stories. But like shorts of a different story, that kind of thing.
Yeah, just see some different stuff going on.
Yeah, definitely. Duncan?
What do I?
Do you want me to do one while you think of it?
Yeah, you do one.
I hate that Angron gets bitch slapped in pretty much every fucking fight in every book. When he's meant to be like this insanely good warrior, gladiator in one-on-one combat. And yet everyone has a go.
Because he's not just big and strong and fierce, he's also a very skilled fighter.
Well, he is mostly just big, strong, and fierce, but he's so big, strong, and fierce that you can't be a good fighter against him most of the time. So, like the one book they do kind of well in is Betrayer, where it's like he wins the fight against Gilliman. Spoilers, by the way, if you haven't read Betrayer. But then Lorgar, like, decides that's when he, uses that for him to change into the Demon Primarch, the Ascended Angron. So as a result, ends up losing the fight because Gilliman's got other people that will then get him out of there, essentially. And then there's a story in that same book about him fighting Lionel Johnson, and how Russ, sorry, Leman Russ, and how Angron beats Leman Russ in a fight. But it would have, if the way it had played out, how Angron wanted it to play out, it would have resulted in Angron dying, but he'd have won, and he'd have been happy because he'd have known he'd won as he died. That's how he looks at it. But Russ had him surrounded by his people. And then, like, Lorgar's talking to him about how, like, do you not understand how you actually lost? Because Russ is a leader where his legion care for him. So as a result, they're willing to defend him with, like, their dying breath. Whereas you don't really have anyone like that because everyone in your legion kind of hates you. So that's fine. I get that. But then it comes down to, like, one-on-one combat a lot of the time. And it's like, so most recently in Hawks of Omen, it doesn't feel like the Lion has to try that hard to beat Angron. And it's like, I mean, sure, okay, have it like as Angron losing. I understand that has to happen. He has just destroyed a planet by himself at this point, by the way, as well, because he's Angron. But he seems to be like there's a few key pieces in 40k where they use them in that exact way. Avatars of Cain are a shining example as well. Angron, as I say, is a shining example of like, we need to demonstrate how tough someone is, so they're going to bitch slap Angron. And it happens a lot, like an awful lot. And it just doesn't really make you feel that good about how powerful Angron is. And he's meant to be an insanely powerful demon Primarch. But his biggest power is that he doesn't really die. He kind of keeps coming back. And that's not really what you want from him. So I'm just a bit like, they do him dirty. He's had a rough life as it is, and his stories don't do him justice as well. It makes me feel sad. But yeah, I'd like to see more from Angron. But
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, he's a victim of the Wolf effect. That's exactly it, Dan. He is. Do you guys know the Wolf effect?
Yeah, it's basically that, isn't it? Yeah, to show something strong, it teleports onto the bridge and beats up Worf.
Yeah, and it happens like in every episode of Star Trek Next Generation. So yeah, it's the same thing. So that pisses me off, but I still love Angron, even though he's a dick. I'll stand by this, that it's particularly with the major like chaos factions that are assigned to a god, the second in command is always more interesting than the Primarch. So with World Eaters, Khan's more interesting. With Thousand Suns, Araman's more interesting. Nurgle, what's his face?
Death Guard and Typhus.
Yeah, Typhus is more interesting as well.
Typhus.
And then Lucius.
And but it's Fabius Bile in.
Fabius Bile's just an apothecary.
Oh yeah, that's it.
But he's kind of like an important apothecary because he's doing all the experimentation and stuff. But Lucius is kind of not Torgadon. He's for the Eyes of Horus, isn't it? Whatever. Basically, the next guy up is always more interesting. So Lucius, I think, is more interesting than Fulgrim as well. So like, it's just one of those things that make them slightly more flawed, and all of a sudden they become more interesting, which I think we already probably knew anyway. So yeah, interesting there. Duncan?
All right, I've got 2 Dark Angels.
Yeah.
I've got one that I like.
Yeah.
I've got one that I'm a bit annoyed with now.
Okay.
Or bored with.
Yeah.
As it were.
Yeah.
I don't like how now they've gone where they've gone necessarily with the search for the fallen. Look, I appreciate Dark Angels are dicks, and it makes great narrative that they will sometimes just turn up to look for the fallen. But I kind of think, like, the thing I didn't like in Cypher, Lord of the Fallen, the book, was essentially Malachi going down just to try and get Cypher out of. I mean, the whole book, a lot of it is just ridiculous, but it's just. I mean, I accept the devotion and wanting to cover up the secret, but I don't know. The way it's gone is so.
They're kind of annoying.
Yeah,
Like
They are
so
annoying.
anyone does anything with them, they're just like, no, you want to find out our secrets, and we'll never tell you our secrets. Like, no, relax, we're trying to save you. No, you can't come on the ship. Why? Because you'll find out our secrets. And it's like,
don't
guys,
care.
yeah,
Who's
Do
come to
you have
save you?
secrets? No.
yeah,
No.
no, exactly, yeah. Probably wouldn't have even looked for them in the first place, but now, like, yeah, and it's just a bit much.
It's like
Yeah,
Yeah.
the original
Because also,
reason
like,
why.
lads, everyone's got shit like that used to happen. Get over it.
Yeah,
nearly every legion had people had like troop turning to chaos.
Yeah.
so the way it's gone is a bit rubbish.
Mhm.
On the flip side, I really like the current what they did with the lion coming back. The fact that he's now and that they're flipping it with Lion's now like, nah, can we just maybe not kill everyone who might have been fallen? We kind of now know that what went down isn't quite clear cut.
Yeah.
And what's his name? Luther might have like misled everyone, and not everyone was in the inner circle.
Yeah.
And knew everything. So I quite like the Risen. I mean, I don't like the name the Risen. I would prefer that they're called the Forgiven.
Yeah, Forgiven makes more sense as well.
Like,
But it's a bit more on the nose, but it does make more sense. I agree.
yeah. So I like that, and I like the fact that the line is now a bit more mellowed and contemplative, and not quite as he's like, all right, I'm not going to be as secretive. That was wrong. Actually, that's the thing I quite like.
Mm.
Bringing back, okay, they've only brought back two, but like Gilliman, yeah, he's got his ultra depression, but he's maybe not as, he's not as, he realizes he's not as perfect boy, and the fact that all the Ultramarines are like, we didn't make it back to Terra. But yeah, the Fallen, and it might just be because of the way we've ever spoken about the Faithful, and I think I've just mixed up fan bases. But it's the thing. It's a minor annoyance, and I love my Dark Angels because the other favorite bit of lore, and whether they've kept it or not, not sure. But the reason why the Deathwing Terminators were that color and stuff was because of what they did on their own home planet,
Yeah.
or a group of Terminators did, and they basically adopted the color of their home planet against a gene stealer. That is one of my favorite little bits of lore. I love my Dark Angels.
They're
But I
loosely
don't-
based on Native Americans, aren't they, as well? the
Yeah.
Deathwing. So yeah, I quite like that as well. I agree 100%. Like it's for me. I like that the Dark Angels have secrets, but it doesn't need to be their entire identity.
Yeah,
Like so like yeah, sure, you've got secrets. You want to keep the secrets. Have Asmodai, just that one guy, and chaplains in general for the Dark Angels be we're keeping secrets, and we always keep secrets, and that's what we do. We're secretive. We have secrets. You can't know our secrets. Cool.
we've got the bloody Watchers in the Dark. That
Yeah.
is secret enough. Like it's
Exactly.
you don't you kept someone locked away and then he's got broken free. That's fine. That is all you need. You don't need, oh, we've got to chase all these fallen. It's like,
Yeah.
you know what? You are the first legion, so you're, as is kind of described in the Lion, originally everything, the first legion did do everything that all the other legions eventually did. Yes, they didn't find the Lion for ages,
Yeah.
but for stealth, the first lot were always the first legion. So it's like, okay, so you've got that kind of chip on your shoulder. I like the chip on your shoulder aspect,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It's just, it is a bit annoying. And though I did find it funny when Peachy was talking about painting Dark Angels. The one thing I learned when I worked at Games Warhammer was that the Dark Angels are chaos. Definitely chaos. I find that hilarious.
The one thing I do like about it is that the First Legion are loyalist but might be chaos. The 20th Legion are chaos but might be loyalist.
Yeah, that is fun.
I do quite like that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm hoping we don't ever get really a definitive answer.
oh, absolutely.
that.
I don't want
sit
to
there and go, right, this is what the Alpha Legion have been up to all along. No
Yeah.
bullshit this time. Here it all is.
I like that they are distractingly mustache twirlingly villains as
Yeah.
well. So like it's, but I
I like the fact that they're basically Mark Strong, but yeah.
I agree with Dark Angel. What I think how I look at it with Gilliman and the Line coming back is this is the difference that 10,000 years makes when you're not around. Because I think Gilliman and the Lion are basically the same people. It's just they've come back to a world that is horrendous compared to how it was. So Gilliman came back and went, we kind of had this shit under control. What the fuck happened? And the Lion's kind of come back and gone, right, okay, maybe I was a bit too mad. Maybe I need to kind of like rein in a bit. But I also have the self-awareness to do that. Whereas the rest of everyone else is fucking crazy.
I think with the Lion, the thing is he's come back at a time when the BBC have been showing The Traitors, and he's been sat there, he's go, oh my god.
Is that what we look like?
This is what I've spent thousands of years doing. I am Claudia Winkleman. And he's just realised he needs to chill it out a bit and calm down with this stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I do quite like the fact that he's now going, you know what? His main thing is now he just hates chaos. He's like, right, we're always going to put away chaos. And
we can all agree on that. That's fine.
It's fine. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to try and protect worlds, try and protect people. It's not that he necessarily cares that much, but he does care about protecting the worlds in a way. I don't know. It's a bit different. And the funniest bit I do like is how he hates the ecclesiarchy. He just pisses them off.
Same with Gilliman.
Yeah, it's just
Gilliman
the best.
as well, yeah.
It's the funniest thing. I love that.
Gilliman came back and went, what do you mean you worship him as a god? I like destroyed a planet pretty much that my brother was on because he worshipped him as a god, and you all fucking do it now. So like, but he has to be like, oh, also you're in charge. Guess I'll have to just sit on that one for a bit. That was one that I'll be talking to the councillor about.
Actually, sorry, I'm going to jump in, but that's the other thing is everyone who was around at the time of the Emperor going, he's not a god. It's like beyond the fell-handed. And just like, we'll wheel him out, and everyone worships him. He's like, no, don't do that. It's just like
the whole thing was to not do this. The Emperor blessed by all, but yeah, sure, beloved by all. Sorry, not blessed by all, but yeah. Still, yeah, I agree. Dark Angels, just chill out a little bit. We need to, like, it's okay to like be after the fallen, but then have like a unit that specific job is to be after. Have like a 5-man chaplain unit or something whose job it is to go and find the fallen.
Yeah, it's not like they're finding them that often.
Yeah.
And there can't really be that many of them. So, yeah.
There were a fair few on Caliban, and I don't know. One of the conversions I would like to do is basically make. There's some models out there people have done is make a risen unit. It's be quite cool, but quite probably challenging. But yeah, I mean we have been going on for any more for.
Yeah.
Russ.
I think so. Something that annoys me sometimes is just the generally over broiness of Marines when they literally are just talk to each other like courage and honor, brother, and you courage and honor too, and some honor and courage. Like, just make them be normal people. Then they're interesting.
I don't hate it.
It just gets a bit
it's
like
the same,
a little
it's
bit.
The same shit
fine.
you see when you watch Gladiator.
No, but like
it's
some
no
cool
different.
moments is fine. But when that's literally just how they talk to each other all the time, like
I'm
just
fine
let
with
them be normal.
I'll go one further though. Why shouldn't there be women? Like it's like that winds me up. Like, why shouldn't they be women? Well, actually, I think you'll find that no, fuck that. You can change law. Okay, you can change any law. Why shouldn't they be women?
Well, quite.
There is absolutely no reason. Although I did enjoy, I watched a video last night where someone made a Mister of Battle, and it was just this jacked dude in like the wig, like still wearing the armor. It looks fucking great.
That's amazing.
But because someone commented, you don't get Misters of Battle. And he goes, yeah. Why shouldn't they be women? Like, there is absolutely no reason. It's 2025. It's not woke to include women in things. Just fucking do it. Just have women Space Marines. I 90% certain like the early artwork had women as Space Marines anyway.
The first edition.
Yeah.
actually in the original Rogue Trader there were female Space Marines
J-
because they were
fine.
originally criminals, and
Yeah.
that was funny.
Still are.
I mean,
But
yes,
it's
you know what I mean.
yeah. Oh, and I mean, this is just me, really. Can't change any law. Hawkboy won't be back anytime soon. uh, that's a shame. That would be amazing. I want him. I want Demon Primarch. What's his face? But yeah,
Corvus.
yeah. Um,
I think that will
yeah,
happen.
yeah, that's gonna look fucking awesome. Bring him back at the same time you bring Dreadnought Perturabo back as well,
Nah,
which I think that's the perfect way of doing that. But
I thought it would be Dawn. Bring back Dawn and Demon Perturabo, and they're just like clonk, clonk, clonk.
before they make love,
Who is it that he's got locked up in a tower or something?
Lorgar.
Lorgar.
It's Lorgar.
Korax, yeah, he's got Lorgar, and he's just like,
Just going, fucking come down.
but Lorgar
No!
escaped, and now he's like, oh, I guess I'll go fucking find him then. But yeah, but he did for like many years just have him like just Lorgar looking out the window. Still there? Yep, he's still there. Okay.
Still a bird? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, Sanguinius. You can't bring Sanguinius.
No, definitely
No.
not. Off
And-
limits.
And leave Ferris Manus.
You can have women's Space Marines though. You can't. Yeah, Faris Manus.
Fuck off.
Yeah, he's boring anyway. But like, Sanguinius is such an impactful death that like, if you bring Sanguinius back, all of a sudden you've got like Blood Angels that are like, oh well, okay,
Yeah,
well, he's here.
so like in general, stuff
Yeah.
that like when you bring it back, it just undoes loads of really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Something, as we've said before, something stupid like bringing the Emperor back in Star Wars, but nobody would ever
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, that would be stupid.
But yeah, if you do
Never
if you do
happened.
stuff like, oh, Sanguinius is back,
Mm.
you lads could have chilled out for the last 10,000 years.
Yeah, 100%.
That would be really annoying.
And Conrad Kurz as well. Don't bring it. He wanted to die, or he saw it and he allowed
The
it
ones
to
who are
happen.
definitely dead have to stay dead, which is only Kurz, Ferris Manus, Sanguinius, and Horus, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, and
Oh,
one
and
of
Either Alfarius or
so that's
Omicron.
fine because it's one of Alfarius / Omegon, except he
Maybe
was a
both.
smaller Primarch anyway, who is the same
Yeah.
size as all the Space Marines. So it's Alfarius or Omegon or some random Alpha Legion dude.
Other lore I really like. Blood Raven's been all thieving bastards.
I do and I don't. Like it's it's funny that they did it, and it's and they kind of retconned it around like overzealous video game designers, but like, yeah,
Okay, so maybe I just like all the memes.
yeah,
The GIFs,
they're
the
fucking
videos.
hilarious. I agree with that. I really like a lot of Imperial Guard lore, but I understand that's a personal thing for me.
No,
Uh,
actually, do you know what? I would say the Imperial Guard lore is like the Inquisition lore and the Imperial Guard lore is really good.
Yeah. Well, I like Krieg in general. I think Krieg's really interesting. I like Katachan because
Yeah.
it's funny. And I love that they've got like frogs that if they get mad, they explode with the power of a nuclear bomb. Which is
If
just
they
insane.
if they sort of get even slightly spooked or worried, they'll explode.
Yeah, yeah. Which is brilliant. And then
Could,
obviously,
you could have a great like sort of first, like the intro to Saving Private Ryan type thing where you have like loads of really cool stuff about the guard just like getting tooled up and deploying and being like really cool and really efficient, but then like a Titan appears on the horizon, just goes brrr, and wipes out the entire army with one shot.
it's all
and they're
great.
Oh, we might need something else here.
Animation of an Emperor Titan firing its gun, and it genuinely was like, whoa, that kind of like makes me feel a bit creepy. Like it's so like you can't imagine like a weapon of that magnitude. It was really cool. Really enjoyed that. I'd like the Tau Law if we got any. You can't. Yes,
There isn't
you are
loads, is
right.
there? There's the Farsight stuff.
They kind of half-arse it. That's the problem.
Mhm.
And like, so there is kind of like a vague idea of what's going on with the Tau, but it's like, I agree. I'd love to get into the political intrigue of what's going on with the what are they fucking called? They got Farsight, and then against the Ethereals.
Yeah.
because they're dicks. So like I'd like to see more of that. I agree. I think the biggest mistake they made with 10th was coming out with Tyranid law, because it's very difficult to do law based around Tyranids, because all they do is eat things, and that's kind of all that.
Yeah, and you can't give them a personality
No.
or like any characters or anything. You just can't do it.
Well, it's
No.
more that it's the mystery of what the Tyranids are running from.
Mm.
Though there is that meme of all the factions beating up on each other, and it's like the Tyranids coming, and then whatever the Tyranids are running from, and then behind that is an orc wearing rainbow armor. Yeah, it just
I
made me giggle.
Yeah, I think it's so it's cool. It was a cool like starting story of the idea of like Leontis trying to get these armed forces together, and like having to like really fight to say no, that this is a real threat. We need to do something about this, and calling in like every favor he possibly can to do it. And then the Norn emissary being Tyranid that exists simply to try and kill Leontis, because he knows that how important they know how important he is for like the unification of those planets. And then there's some fun lore as well, like the planet that refuses to believe that Tyranids are really a threat, even when they're in the sky. And it was clearly written during COVID, and it's just hilarious. It's just like no worries about that, as Tyranids are eating people. Like
Yeah.
it's just great.
Um,
Xenos lore in general, I agree with stuff you said before, Jack. Xenos lore in general is light, and they could need to do something about that.
yeah, I mean, I do quite enjoy the Eldari basically power bottoming Slaanesh into into
It's just a great term. But yeah.
yeah into existence. It's quite good fun. I How they've done bioships, like
Mhm.
you get some nice detail, is really cool.
Mm.
Like the fact that when you invade it, you are invading an organism, and that it's been mapped out, and the just some horrendous immune system, but then they
Mm.
just wake up the army inside. But it's like the arm waking up the army is basically you're creating the army.
Yeah.
It spawns the army, and that essentially it's got an organ in it that is sensitive to the warp. That
Mm.
if you take it out, it can't move. It just stops. It just move. It becomes inert
Like an
and stops.
immobilizer.
Yeah, it's just they call it the statocysts,
Yeah.
and that is great. And the fact, I mean, I do love the fact that Votan called it. I like the term gene killers.
Mm.
Like, I just think that's lovely, but it's just because it consumes, and so they can't get their gene material back. But gene killers, and obviously we know them as gene stealers, and
Mm.
I quite like the idea that there is this bigger, um, the hive mind of the Tyranids is a great thing. I mean, I know
Mm.
they were based on Alien, but and they do have weapons that basically burrow in and then explode out of people.
Mm.
It's
So do I.
that's
Way.
we
Lads. Just
you orc.
Jack says at least the Votan have got their first novel now, though. You've read it, haven't you, Duncan?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it's good,
I
right?
mean, some of it's hilarious. Like, also, I just like the fact that everyone dicks upon Deptus Mechanicus. No one likes them.
It's true. No one likes the Adeptus Mechanicus.
No one
And
takes them
It's
seriously.
kind of okay. I'm kind of okay with that.
Like the orcs beat them, and it's funny. Like Space Marines unify because they don't like the Adeptus Mechanicus.
Mhm.
The Votan can't take them seriously. They go machine spirits, mwahaha.
Yeah.
Really upset people. Um, yeah, it starts off, the book starts off well, and then it kind of loses its way a bit. But
I like what
the
they were saying about how they the ones that are robots
the
have
Ironkin,
yeah, the Ironkin sometimes have like faces projected on them to make them look like Votan, like
yeah,
make them look like the League. Sorry,
the kin.
the Kin. Sorry, yeah, fuck yeah, I get confused. Yeah.
It's easily
Mm.
done. The all right, sorry, I'm digressing, but is the Quillas is not the funniest bit. The funniest bit is the way actually they have the Imperials talking
Mm.
is exactly like they are from the from the Prussian army. It is written phonetically as if they are that kind of strong accent of, say, early 20th century.
It is very true, Jack. 30k modelers love AdMech because they are doing a banging job with those models.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
30k
yes.
AdMech look great. I agree.
But I like it in the lore that a lot of people just dick on them.
Yeah,
Are they-
I like the fact they are just dicks.
They
to
are
be honest
dicks.
with
Like,
you. Yeah,
they're
Yeah.
really annoying.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry. The comment was but maybe they'll really like if they see their holy pigeon. Yeah, but how did we get that? We salvaged it. We salvaged it from a wreck. It wasn't a wreck when we first met it. They just destroyed an Imperial ship. They do help the Imperium. They're just like, yeah, we'll help the.
But they'll work with anyone that will further their commerce, basically, won't they? So.
Yeah, no, the mercenaries.
One last one, then Imperial Guard again. Cadia, like the fall of Cadia was actually a really big deal for me because, like, it was like when I got into it.
It still stands.
It does, yeah, fuck yeah. So when I got into it, like that was like a no-brainer. That was always going to be there. I love the idea of this planet on the Eye of Terror. They just constantly fight chaos because that's where they are. And then they fucking destroyed it, and I think that's amazing as well. And it just ripped the universe in half, ripped the galaxy in half, like in the process of doing it. Really, really cool. And it's cheesy as fuck, but I do like the whole Cadia thing as well. But yeah,
it's really cool.
Yeah, and the White Scars in general. But then these now I'm just listing things I like. So yeah, not really.
They did a really good job because the Cadians were just like the standard issue guard, weren't they?
Yeah.
So they're almost a bit generic, and they've really given them a good sort of sense of personality
with their purple eyes. Yeah.
I do like the snippet of lore of that actually the Khan is a better swordsman than Fulgrim.
He just doesn't
And it's
shout
like-
about it.
Yeah, he's just like, I'll just own your ass. You know nothing about me because I don't talk, but I know everything about you. It's like, oh my god, oh, I love you, Khan.
He can't just doesn't. He has no interest in shouting about himself. He'd rather be underestimated.
Yeah.
Is the whole thing with Khan. So yeah. I'm just, as I say, just reading about that in Scars at the moment, which is a really good book. Really, really liking that. So. But yeah. Well, I'm done. There is more that I like and there's more that I dislike, but maybe we'll do like a part 2 when we think of more of them.
Yeah, it's just big picture stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. I can tell you something I like and dislike. Why the Land Raider's called a Land Raider. I both like it, and I also think it's dumb as fuck. It's
But
both those
Archenland
things.
as a character
Yeah.
didn't really start to come around until fairly recently.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, the idea that it's been named after him has been around for a long time. So, like, well,
Yeah.
let's just bring this guy in and make him quite fun.
Yeah.
Because
I agree.
he's just like a bit of a petty dick to everybody as well.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, I'm done. How about you guys?
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's our take on what we like to see in the lore.
Sorry,
Is
just
there
one
some?
last thing. Are we talking about Khan or Khan? We're talking about both. Like we talked about Khan the Betrayer earlier, and now
slash
we're talking
or.
about Jagatai.
Yeah, Dan just likes Khans.
Mm-hmm.
All of them.
Yep.
Incidentally, my eldest son's favorite models in the Space Marine Codex is always the White Scars. So,
Fuck yeah, they're the coolest. They're the coolest looking.
but then he likes the Iron Hands. I'm like, no, I forbid you. Stop it.
You're embarrassing me.
He also saw a Tau battle suit. He was like, oh, that's really cool. Like
They are cool.
the
yeah,
models are blush.
They look
They're
great.
undeniably cool. The Ghost Kill battlesuit is one of the coolest things.
Yeah.
And then I remember Russ collected Tau, and therefore they have to be cool because Russ is actually the coolest person we know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have my Tau on me. But then, like, if you do like the Tau, you should just get a Gundam suit or two because you can get them for about 50p.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyway, look forward to there. I want to thank all the handies who have been watching. Thanks, handies. You can catch us on. Well, Dan does a lot on the socials actually, mainly Instagram as TMTOH. He just posts
which is just
everything.
now my own account now.
Yeah,
So
it's
fuck that.
Dan's account.
Yeah.
But I support everything he says in this. It's great.
I was going to put
everything
Doug
is-
as a prick up today.
He wouldn't be wrong.
Oh, he supports this, huh?
Yeah, I do. I support your prick all the time.
Oh, yeah, you do. Well done. That was really good.
Dan, are you doing any movies?
Oh fuck! So I've still got the one from the end of the year to put up because I've just I don't know, felt like I had some kind of a breakdown in some way. So I'm now trying to get it all back together again, in the process, and I'll do that hopefully this week. So yeah.
Great, and this one will go up eventually. But if you've been watching, thank you very much for joining us. We will try and be a bit more regular and stop getting sucked into the warp. Also, being infected by various diseases and everything else.
Noble's Rock.
Yeah. God, I can't think of what I was going to say. I've got
Bye.
major break. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Russ.
Bye.
Bye, Russ. Bye, Dan. Bye, Handies. Bye, everyone. Peace out. Oh, and cue the music.
Peace.